Hello, and welcome to Yoga with Susan Kelly. This is a 10-minute class which is designed to give you some ideas about how to safely do downward dog, often just called dog pose. It's a pose that's in most of my classes, lots of other people's classes. It's a great pose for lots of things, but particularly if you have tight hamstrings, it could hurt your back unless you find some modifications. Okay, so let's start off with an experiment together, and I'll give you a few different instructions as we go. Okay, so let's come up to standing. Now, do you have tight hamstrings? I would do this if you were in my class now. I'd say, just show me, can you straighten your legs and touch the floor? Okay, and come all the way up. Now, if the floor was a long way away, as in you couldn't get there, that's completely okay. But we might need to agree that you have tight hamstrings. Okay, so perhaps with your straight legs, and let's everyone do this. Now, let's slide your hands down to your knees, okay? And if you can go further, your shins, front ankles, and the floor. If then we were suggesting that perhaps you have long hamstrings, you would turn your hands over, backs of the hands on the floor beside your feet, keeping your legs straight, and then you would take your hands behind you. I have long hamstrings. Yeah? Nothing special happens when you have long hamstrings, but perhaps your back feels wonderful. Okay, so you might have medium length hamstrings, long hamstrings, short hamstrings. It's all going to work for you. Okay, I think that before you do dog pose, particularly if you have shorter hamstrings, tighter hamstrings, that you should stretch your hamstrings before you do dog pose. And this, I think, is the best way to do it. The safest way, where you're lying on your back is flat. You're going to have the belt over the ball of the foot. The leg is truly straight. You're holding the belt with your hands, your back is flat. And you're going to extend now the left leg along the floor. Have a look at it, make sure it's straight, and breathe here. Be here with me. Breathe in and breathe out. Yeah. The hamstrings have an incredible range, and throughout the day they'll feel different. But let's be here. We practice with our yoga to be present, to be mindful, to not look behind us, to not be too goal orientated, but actually to be here, one breath at a time. With your hamstrings, I'm asking. They're great teachers. Okay, and let's change legs. So bend that right leg, leave it bent as we begin the left side. Holding the belt in two hands, keeping the back down, and walking the hands up towards the foot, keeping the back of the neck long, checking in. How do you respond when you feel your hamstrings? It would be good to stay open and breathe in and breathe out. To practice being curious rather than judging, one breath at a time. And let's extend the right leg along the floor, pick up the head, dorsiflex that foot, and breathe in and breathe out. Back is flat. Yeah. Doing this every day would be fabulous. Okay, and let's bend both legs and stand the feet to the floor. Okay, pick up the feet, point them to the ceiling, and swing yourself all the way up. Okay, dog pose. Let's go through in a few different stages. Bring your legs behind you and sit on your heels. We often transition into dog pose from plank, but we're going to do it from the ground a little bit differently today. Okay, tuck your toes under and keep your hips back, but walk your hands as far forward as you can. The fingers are spread. The arms are truly straight. You're pressing your hands down into the floor. And let's breathe in here. And breathe out. Okay, rock your shoulders forward now. So your shoulders are coming right over your wrists. And it's a great place to check in on your hands to make sure the fingers are spread and there's no spaces, particularly under the index finger knuckle. Okay, lift your front body up so that your abdominal muscles are working and really insist that the arms are straight. Lift your knees off the floor. And then lift your sitting bones and your hips higher, but keep your legs bent to begin with. Hips go as high as they can. Now bring your ears in line with your arms. Keep the lift in the hips and push your front body towards your legs. Breathing in and breathing out. You're on your tiptoes and your legs are bent. This doesn't really use much of the hamstrings. But it gives you an opportunity to check that your hands are pressing, your arms are straight, your abdominal muscles are working, and you're rotating the pelvis, so you're opening the hips. And take another breath there. So this is step 1 to dog pose. And now let's come forward. So shoulders come forward, hips come forward. Bring the knees down to the floor. Untuck the toes and sit back on your heels. And take a breath. Okay, so we'll go through step 1 and we'll move into step 2. Okay, tuck the toes under again. Keep the hips back and reach forward. Walk those hands forward. Spread the fingers. The hands are shoulder width apart. The arms are truly straight. Okay, push with your toes. Bring your shoulders forward. Check in on your hands. Check in on your arms. Lift your knees off the floor. Lift your hips high. Bring your head down so your ears are in line with your arms. This is where we were, step 1. And now step 2, you're going to stay on your tiptoes, but straighten your legs. The hips are reaching as high as they can, and the lift is partly from the top of the hamstrings, partly from the creases of the hips. The legs are truly straight. The hands are pressing down, the arms are straight. We're rotating the pelvis so the sitting bones go up. Take a breath here. Your spine should feel fantastic. And then bend the legs. Push forward. Bring your knees down. Untuck the toes. And sit back on your heels. Where are we up to? Yeah, perfect timing. Take a breath. So let's go into the full pose now. Okay, tuck the toes under. Reach forward. Hands are spread, arms are straight. We'll pass through those 2 stages. So the shoulders come forward. We'll check in on my hands. Check that the arms are straight. Lift the knees off the floor. Lift the hips as high as I can. Push yourself back. Ears in line with the arms. Straighten the legs. So the legs are straightening at the front and the back. And now the final pose, we begin to lower the heels, but we don't drop the lift in the hips. So the sitting bones are still lifting as we begin to lower the heels. Breathing in and breathing out. So we're going up and down at the back of the legs. Now, if this doesn't feel right, if your back doesn't feel extending like it's extending, and if you have short hamstrings, tight hamstrings, it might feel much better to do bent legs. And do that again now. Or perhaps it'll feel good with your heels in the air. Or perhaps you will feel that you can extend your back with your legs straight. It's really important to find what works for you. Breathing in and breathing out. Let's reverse that. Lift the heels, bend the legs, come forward and bring the hands down. So that was 10 minutes on dog pose. You could really go through that anytime you want. It's a lovely practice to find your upper body strength as well as your hamstring length. I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you feel fantastic, and I look forward to seeing you on the mat again soon. Namaste.